Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive. Today it's all about the power of now. And wow, this text excerpt you sent over, it's really got me thinking.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
It is. It's like a manual for how to unlock the potential of the present moment. You know what I mean? And there are some things in here that really caught my eye, like how mindfulness can actually help shape reality, and that time and space might not be as fixed as we think.
Yeah, you've hit on some of the most intriguing aspects of this material for sure. What I find fascinating is how it blends these spiritual concepts with actual practical techniques.
Right.
It doesn't just tell us to live in the now, it gives us tools to actually do it.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation. The text really hammers home this point that the present moment is the only true reality. I get that, like intellectually. But how do we actually start to live that way when our minds are so used to dwelling on the past or, worrying about the future?
I think that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The text emphasizes that the past and future only exist in our thoughts. They're not real in the same way that this present moment is.
Hmm.
Every experience, every joy, every heartbreak, it all unfolded right here in the now.
Right.
And that's where this idea of mindfulness comes in.
So mindfulness is like the key to unlocking the power of the present.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's about training our minds to be present, to observe our thoughts and emotions without getting completely swept away by them.
Okay.
Imagine your thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky.
Mhm.
You see them, you acknowledge them, but you don't have to grab onto them and let them carry you away.
Okay, that's a helpful analogy. But how does mindfulness actually work in daily life?
Well, let's take something as simple as eating. Usually we're barely paying attention to the food, right?
Yeah.
We're thinking about work or scrolling on our phones or planning what's next.
Right.
But what if we brought mindful awareness to that experience? The text suggests slowing down, noticing the colors, the textures, the smells of the food, really tasting each bite and savoring the experience.
So instead of just mindlessly shoveling food into our mouths, we're actually present with the experience of eating.
Precisely. And that simple shift can make a huge difference. It transforms eating from a routine act into a mindful practice.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And this ties into the idea that our thoughts and emotions shape our reality, right? The text gets pretty deep on this, talking about how what we focus on, believe, and feel influences our experiences. Isn't that what they call the law of attraction or something?
It is. It's a fascinating concept that's been explored in various spiritual and philosophical traditions.
Mm-hmm.
The basic premise is that, attracts.
Yeah, okay.
If we're constantly focused on negative thoughts and anxieties, we're more likely to attract those kinds of experiences.
So if I'm constantly worried about missing a deadline, I'm actually more likely to make it happen.
The text suggests that it's possible. Not because the universe is conspiring against you, but because your thoughts and emotions create a certain energy that attracts similar experiences.
Mm.
On the flip side, if we cultivate positive thoughts and focus on what we want to create, we're more likely to manifest those outcomes.
So it's not just about positive thinking, it's about aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions with our desires. That's a pretty powerful concept and maybe a little intimidating too. What if we're not even aware of the thoughts and emotions that are shaping our reality?
That's where mindfulness comes in again. It's about developing the self-awareness to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. The more we can do that, the more choices we have about which ones to engage with and which ones to let go of. We can start to consciously choose thoughts and emotions that support our goals and well-being.
So we're not just victims of our circumstances, we actually have the power to shape our reality through our thoughts and emotions.
That's the empowering message of this text.
Ah.
And it leads us to another mind-bending concept, dissolving the barriers of time and space through presence.
Okay, this is where things start to get really interesting.
Mhm.
The text claims that being fully present allows us to step out of linear time perception and access a dimension where possibilities exist simultaneously. How is that even possible?
Think about it this way. When you're completely absorbed in the present moment, time seems to stop right.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the past or worrying about the future. You're simply here. In those moments, the boundaries between past, present, and future seem to blur.
Like when you're completely engrossed in a creative project or having an amazing conversation, time just flies by.
Exactly. The text suggests that this state of heightened presence is actually our natural state of being. It's when our minds are cluttered with thoughts and worries that we create the illusion of linear time and limit ourselves to a narrow range of possibilities.
So by quieting our minds and being present, we can actually expand our perception of time and access a wider range of possibilities.
That's the idea. And it's not just about time. The text also talks about dissolving the barriers of space. When we're present, we're more connected to everything around us. We're not just individuals. We're part of a larger web of interconnectedness.
So it's like we're tapping into a deeper level of awareness where we're more connected to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, but I think we need to take a pause here and come back to this in part two. There's a lot to unpack with these ideas.
I agree. This is definitely a lot to digest, and I already feel like I'm seeing things in a new light.
That's the beauty of exploring these concepts. They challenge us to question our assumptions and open up to new ways of experiencing the world.
Stay tuned for part two, where we'll continue our deep dive into the power of now. Welcome back. I don't know about you, but after that last discussion, I'm starting to feel a little like Neo from The Matrix, like glimpsing a reality beyond what I normally perceive.
It can be a real shift in perspective to consider that our usual understanding of time and space might be more limited than we realize.
Yeah.
But where do we go from here? How do we actually apply these kind of mind-bending ideas in our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. The text talks about this state of heightened presence where possibilities expand, but it can't be about just waiting for those moments to happen spontaneously, right?
You're right. The text emphasizes the importance of cultivating presence through deliberate practice. It's about integrating mindfulness into the fabric of our lives moment by moment.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of Zen-like calm all the time.
Not at all. It's about recognizing that our minds will naturally wander. We'll get distracted, lost in thought, caught up in the past or future. The key is to gently guide our attention back to the present moment again and again.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. So what are some of the techniques we can use to develop this mindfulness muscle?
Well, the text actually provides a very simple yet powerful visualization exercise. It invites us to imagine ourselves standing at the edge of a vast ocean, feeling the sand beneath our feet, the cool breeze on our skin, hearing the waves crashing on the shore. The idea is to really immerse ourselves in the sensory experience of that moment, to feel the aliveness of being present.
It's like a mental vacation to a place of peace and tranquility.
Exactly. And by practicing this visualization regularly, we can train our minds to access that state of presence more easily in our daily lives.
I love that. It's like building a mental muscle for presence. But what about when we're not sitting on a beach in our minds? How do we stay present amidst the chaos of daily life?
One technique the text highlights is mindful breathing. It sounds almost too simple, but focusing on the breath is a powerful way to anchor ourselves in the present moment.
Is this like meditation? I've tried that before, but my mind always races.
Mindful breathing can be a part of meditation, but it doesn't have to be formal. You can practice it anytime, anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Simply notice the sensation of your breath as you inhale and exhale. Feel the rise and fall of your chest or abdomen. If your mind wanders, just gently bring it back to the breath.
So it's about using the breath as an anchor to the present moment. I like that. It's something I can actually do right now while we're talking.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the easier it becomes to access that sense of grounded presence throughout our day. The text also emphasizes the importance of bringing mindfulness to everyday activities, like eating, walking, or even doing the dishes.
So it's not just about sitting on a cushion and meditating. It's about bringing that mindful awareness to everything we do.
Precisely. When we eat mindfully, we savor each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and sensations. When we walk mindfully, we pay attention to the movement of our bodies, the feel of our feet on the ground, the sights and sounds around us.
So it's about transforming the mundane into mindful moments.
Exactly. And as we do that, we start to experience a deeper connection to ourselves, to our surroundings, and to the present moment.
This is making me realize how much I usually rush through life on autopilot, not really paying attention to what's happening right in front of me.
It's something we all do. Our minds are wired to think about the past or future, to plan, analyze, and worry. But mindfulness invites us to step out of that mental chatter and simply be present with what is.
It's like hitting the pause button on our busy minds and allowing ourselves to experience life more fully, right?
Exactly. And as we do that, we often discover a sense of peace and joy that we didn't even realize we were missing.
That brings to mind something else. The text mentioned the idea that joy is an internal state, not something we have to seek outside ourselves.
That's such a crucial point. We often chase happiness through external achievements, possessions, or relationships. But the text suggests that true joy arises from within, from a deep connection with the present moment.
But how do we cultivate that inner joy when we're surrounded by challenges, stress, and uncertainty?
It starts with acceptance, not resignation, but a willingness to acknowledge and embrace reality as it is without resistance.
Earlier, we talked about how our thoughts shape our reality. Is acceptance about choosing to focus on positive thoughts, even when things are tough?
It's more nuanced than that. It's about recognizing that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Instead of fighting against reality, acceptance invites us to surrender to meet challenges with openness and curiosity rather than fear and resistance.
I can see how that could be really empowering. But what about when we're facing a situation that feels truly unfair or painful? How can we possibly accept that?
The text acknowledges that acceptance is a process, not a switch we can flip on and off. It takes courage and compassion, especially when dealing with difficult emotions or past traumas.
So it's about acknowledging the pain without letting it define us.
Exactly. It's about holding space for those difficult emotions without getting swept away by them. The text reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of light, a spark of hope. And sometimes that spark is simply the awareness that we're still here, breathing present in this moment.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's like even in the midst of suffering, we can find a sense of grounding and resilience in the present moment.
And that's where we can begin to tap into our inner strength and wisdom. By accepting what is next, we free ourselves from the struggle of resistance and open up to new possibilities for healing and growth.
This is making me realize how much energy I waste fighting against reality, wishing things were different. What if that energy could be channeled into something more creative, more aligned with my purpose?
That's a powerful insight. And it leads us to the next key theme, cultivating purpose in the now. The text suggests that our purpose isn't something we find out there in the future. It's something we embody in every present moment.
So it's not about achieving some grand goal or finding our one true calling.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. The text emphasizes that purpose can be found in the simplest of actions, as long as those actions are aligned with our values and intentions.
So it's about bringing intention and mindfulness to everything we do, from the smallest tasks to the biggest projects.
Exactly. When we're present with our actions, we infuse them with a deeper sense of meaning. We're no longer just going through the motions, we're actively participating in creating our lives.
It's like every moment becomes an opportunity to express who we truly are and what we care about. But what if we're feeling lost or uncertain about our purpose? How do we even begin to connect with it?
That's where the practice of self-reflection becomes essential. The text encourages us to ask ourselves some deep questions. What brings me joy? What are my unique gifts and talents? How can I use those gifts to make a positive impact in the world?
It's like taking an inventory of our inner resources and then finding creative ways to share those resources with the world.
Exactly. And the answers might surprise you. Sometimes our purpose isn't something grand or extraordinary. It's about expressing our unique essence in the everyday moments of our lives.
So it's about finding those small sparks of joy and purpose in the here and now, and then allowing those sparks to ignite into something bigger.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And I think that's a perfect place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground, and I want to give our listeners some time to reflect on these ideas and how they might apply to their own life.
I agree. This conversation has been incredibly insightful, and I already feel a shift in my perspective. I'm excited to explore these concepts further in part 3. Welcome back to our deep dive on the power of now. It's amazing how much ground we've covered already, from the nature of time and space to the power of mindfulness and acceptance. I'm feeling a real shift in how I'm thinking about, everything.
It really is fascinating how this text challenges so many of our assumptions about how the world works and how we fit into it. And I think what I find most compelling is that it doesn't just present these ideas as abstract theories.
Right.
It actually gives us these practical tools to experience them for ourselves.
One thing that really stuck with me is how the text talks about service as an expression of purpose. Earlier, we discussed how purpose can be found in the present moment, aligning our actions with our values. But I'm curious about how service fits into that equation.
It's a beautiful connection, really. The text suggests that service is more than just doing good deeds. It's about extending our own joy and purpose outward, contributing to something larger than ourselves.
So it's not about self-sacrifice or putting our own needs aside.
No, not at all. In fact, the text suggests that true service actually flows naturally from a state of inner fullness and joy. When we're connected to the present moment, we're more attuned to the needs of others, and we naturally have more energy and compassion to offer.
I like that idea. It's like when you're feeling really happy and energized, it just feels natural to want to share that feeling with others.
Exactly, and that's where service becomes such a powerful expression of purpose.
Yeah.
It's about sharing our unique gifts and talents, making a positive impact in the world, and experiencing the joy that comes from connecting with something larger than ourselves.
But what does that look like practically? I mean, we can't all be Mother Teresa dedicating our lives to serving others in some extraordinary way.
Of course not. Service doesn't have to be something grand or heroic.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as offering a helping hand to a neighbor, listening attentively to a friend who's going through a hard time, or maybe volunteering our time at a local organization.
So it's about those everyday acts of kindness and compassion.
Exactly. And the beauty is that even these small acts can have a ripple effect, creating a wave of positivity that extends far beyond ourselves.
This makes me think about something else the text mentioned. It suggests that the only way to truly shift our reality is to fully embrace the present moment. How does service play a role in that?
Hmm. That's a great question. You see, when we're focused on serving others, we're naturally less caught up in our own ego and its worries and fears and desires,
Hmm.
and we're more connected to the present moment, more attuned to the flow of life.
So it's like service helps us to get out of our own heads and connect with something larger than ourselves, which in turn shifts our perception of reality.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. And as we shift our perception, we open up to new possibilities, new
Yeah.
ways of being, new experiences of joy and purpose.
This has been such an inspiring and thought-provoking conversation. I'm starting to see how all these concepts, mindfulness, acceptance, purpose, and service, they all weave together to create a tapestry of a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
It really is a remarkable tapestry, isn't it? And the most exciting part is that it's constantly evolving, constantly being created in each present moment.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the power of now, what's one key takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important message is that the power to create a more joyful, purposeful, and fulfilling life, it's available to each of us right here, right now. It's not something we have to achieve or earn. It's something we simply have to choose.
And that choice begins with the simple act of becoming present. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of exploration. We encourage you to continue deepening your understanding of the power of now and to share your own insights and experiences with us. Until next time, may you find peace, joy, and purpose in the present moment.